network system into those services. The reason why, and I'm going to be skipping through a lot of these fairly quickly, they're pretty wordy with a lot of information, so if you'd like this, I can send it electronically to you also. We're looking at the amount of increasing demand on bandwidth within the area as technology increases. So if you go to the next slide, Netflix, Hulu, FaceTime, Skype, all those items, the ultra high def 4K TVs, they're requiring double the bandwidth as the current system for a show or movie. Existing challenges, the current infrastructure of copper can't support that bandwidth. And retraining the workforce. When you transition from a copper system to a fiber, it's a very different system, a very different type of networking, and all your connections change, how you handle that changes, and it's a very expensive item to use compared to copper. Some of the disruptive forces, Google Fiber is actually doing this. They started in Kansas City. They've got a couple other cities. I think Houston was one of the next ones they're looking at. And they're trying to bring what's been labeled as FTTH, which is called fiber to the home. And what that's doing is it's taking the fiber direct from the trunk line that's running through the community into the home directly, so you get that almost unlimited broadband into the home. There's also telemedicine, enhanced security, and in-home monitoring, especially within Florida where you have the snowbirds coming down, where it's a more transient group of people that live here. While they're away, they like to be able to monitor their security, look at their systems that are in Florida. Fiber optics growth has grown 13% in 2011 and 13% in 2012. Video on demand is driving that. Netflix is one of the main drivers. In 2012, they added 10 million people to their system. And I know for myself, I know you guys have probably seen it when you're streaming Netflix in the evening, it seems to slow down quite a bit and you get that delay or that buffering. And that's being seen on a nationwide scale just because of the broadband limitations that are there. Just some comparisons between copper and fiber. Fiber optics is about the size of a human hair as one fiber. The amount of information that can carry is 69 terabits of information. Compare that to copper, that would be a 4-inch thick diameter cable, is what copper would require to carry that same amount of information. Some of the project growth that we're looking at seeing in Florida is there are 78 million baby boomers who have grown up with technology and are seeing this technology and kind of maintaining that and staying more on the cutting edge of technology versus previous generations. 21% of those plan to move to Florida, which is 16.4 million people moving to Florida. 48% of those are going to be living in gated communities or high-rise communities, which would be our primary target to provide that fiber optic service to. 24% of that group will move prior to retirement, so they'll be buying the property, establishing a homestead here in Florida before they're actually fully retired. And 75% of those want to live in communities that have a more age-diverse group in it. Like I said, 48% of the 19 million people in Florida live in a gated community or high-rise. There are 35,000 homeowners associations in Florida. 15,000 are located just in Broward, Dade, and Palm Beach counties. 10% of the bulk service agreements that those communities run under renew annually. The bulk of them are renewed in 7 to 15-year term agreements. And just some good news from the economy overall is about 65,000 new housing starts in 2012 compared to 42,000 in 2011. So they're seeing a lot of growth and there is a lot of movement coming into here. On this slide, what we're trying to compare to is what's called the traditional GPON network. That's where your bandwidth is brought in through the trunk line, and then that gets split out based on how many people are there. So it could be split anywhere from 32 times up to 256 times. And what that does is it limits the amount of bandwidth you can get to the individual user. Your bandwidth is there at the trunk line coming in, but when it goes into neighborhoods, it keeps getting reduced down, which only allows so much speed going back up into the main trunk line. And there's very little direct troubleshooting, because if you have a problem in that 256 split, you don't know if it's to one person in that split or to the entire group or to a subgroup in there. So you don't have any direct troubleshooting as to what's happening there. The Google and what Delcom is doing is changing to a direct network. So coming off that main trunk line, it would go to a head-end system and it would be a direct fiber into each individual's home. So whoever's home that was, they would have a dedicated fiber system, which gives them a symmetrical service of their upload and download streams would be equal. And I'll show in a little bit of how that varies different from today, where your current system, your download speed is usually 2 to 3 times faster than your upload speed. And as you notice, there's a lot more, especially with FaceTimes, the YouTube videos. When you're trying to upload and communicate back and forth, you need a more symmetrical approach to keep that speed going the same. You can also upgrade on a one-to-one basis. With the fiber system, it's a matter of just changing out lasers to increase the speed of your bandwidth in there. And you can do that on a per customer basis. It's just a plug and play system. And a lot of those can be controlled even remotely or electronically through a call center system. On the next page, shows why pipe size matters. AT&T, UVerse, and I won't go through all the numbers, but you can see their max down megabits per second and what they're restricted to based on copper. If you go down to Google and Delcom, you can see what we can get up to a gigabit fairly easily with fiber right off the bat, and your upload speed and your download speed is going to be equal. But if you look at the number of HD streams for a high definition movie, you can get 1.7 streams on AT&T or UVerse and up to 71 streams with a Google or a Delcom type of fiber application. And that's just looking at TV and video. When you start adding in email, web surfing, gaming is another very large bandwidth user, FaceTime and Skype, and then the more smartphones, smart appliances, telemedicine is coming out to where they have EKG machines that you can actually plug into your system and bring into a customer's home, run an EKG, send that back directly to the doctor, and they can do some analysis on that real time via your broadband system. So there's a lot of advancements in electronics and smart devices that the infrastructure that's currently there is just not keeping up with. The difference with Delcom is we're taking a boutique approach to this, and that we're going to be targeting some higher end bulk service agreements in neighborhoods. With the remote management and that one-to-one relationship with that fiber direct to the house, we can do a lot more direct troubleshooting with that person. 70% of the calls anticipated into our system we can solve over the phone. We'd like to say we're not going to get calls, but we know that's not feasible. Instead of waiting 3 to 5 days for a technician to show up or waiting for that 4-hour window, if we can be there from 1 to 5, we can manage this more effectively through a phone call over the system. One of the things that we're also going to be offering into these bulk service agreements would be an on-site technician. It'd be similar to kind of a geek squad on-site. So when you get into some of the high-rise condos or neighborhoods, we'd have a person stationed there throughout the week to where if they need help setting up a wireless printer or resetting the router password or anything they might need of setting up a new TV or programming a TV is something that that technician would be provided within that bulk service agreement. We also have a unique remote that is a tablet, a smart tablet, that you can program to all the TVs in your house. So as you move from the living room to the den or to the bedroom, the remote will recognize whatever TV you're looking at, and it'll pick up that new TV. So you can run your entire household of TVs, DVD players, any electronic system off that one remote versus having the 4 or 5 remotes that are sitting out on your table. And we're also going to be able to provide advertising opportunities as part of an additional revenue stream to our company throughout targeted advertising into those neighborhoods, knowing that within that remote we can scroll advertisements for the local pizza places in that neighborhood or local businesses in that neighborhood. So the advertising can be very localized into that community and not just a broad or general advertising or nationwide advertising. It can be, that revenue can be generated through smaller local businesses to help drive that community to that direction. Some of the team, Don Smith is our president and CEO. He is the president and co-founder of D&L Telecommunications. He's been with them. He's had that company for over 35 years. He's got a very good reputation of working with Florida Power and Light, and he does a lot of dry utility construction through residential, and he's been the go-to contractor. He's located out of Pompano Beach right now. Scott Jones is our executive vice president and our technology advisor. He's got 27 years experience with Yahoo. He's designed and deployed a lot of fiber optic networks throughout the world. And he's worked in over 70 different countries establishing, building, and designing cell phone networks and fiber networks all over the world. Part of what we're looking at is our headquarters is in Pompano Beach, and that's where headquarters will remain. What we're looking at is, why are we looking at Wauchula? One of the main reasons is, out of Pompano, they're going to be covering the Miami, Pompano Beach, that Fort Lauderdale, that area is going to be covered out of there. We also have a lot of opportunity within Orlando, Tampa, Sarasota, and Fort Myers, which, from a service standpoint, if we do have to do truck rolls and a call center, we would prefer to be more in market to those areas. Wauchula provides a good centralized location to target those areas. So we're trying to get a branch or a site up here to where we can have some warehousing and a call center to where we can service those areas from a location here. And Wauchula provides that. If you go to the next slide. One other benefit is, within locating a call center here, we can establish our call center for all of Florida within Wauchula or this area. It will need to be a bilingual workforce because of supporting Miami. There's a lot of Hispanic population down there that we will need that bilingual workforce. It's also economical to locate here. Our plan is, based on wage rates we'd have to pay in the Pompano, Miami area, we can pay similar wage rates in Wauchula and be at more of a premium wage in this area versus what they're going to be at into a Pompano Beach, Miami area. And our salary benefit package would be very comparable to other local businesses here. A lot of the other incentives of being in the enterprise zone allows us to get some state incentives into locating here, as far as some sales tax reduction, some other capital expense reductions for write-offs. So that is a benefit, and being a startup company, capital is tight, obviously, so we're trying to monitor that and take care of or take advantage of any of those incentives that we can. And just to kind of give an example, and I'm trying to run through this because I know your time is valuable, a typical construction project to install fiber into a high-rise or into a neighborhood is roughly going to be about a $700,000 investment, and that project is going to take anywhere from 6 to 12 months depending on the type of property. So with that, what we're seeing, our revenues wouldn't start being generated until that service is turned on. Those people are paying a monthly premium or monthly rate to us in that bulk service agreement. That's when our revenue would start. So we've got a time period where what we're looking for is, how can we take advantage of some of the opportunities that Mr. Lambert and I have talked about of locating in this area and getting some warehouse space and office space here to where we can hire some local individuals into this area, get some space, and be able to make it through that first year to 2 years of startup while we're hiring people and not overtaxing our capital, so we can keep our capital invested into establishing infrastructure into the communities we're working with. So,
Jeff, specifically with the support people, how many jobs, we had a discussion, I'm not certain where you are today on that.
Within the first year, I would say we're going to be guaranteed within the next 12 months to hire 4 people within this location if we were to locate here. Over the course of 2 years, I would say that would go up to 8 to 12, just kind of depending how rapidly we grow. And a lot of that is going to be in correlation to how quickly do we sell properties and bring new properties on. We've got a lot of good traction with several different big builders and developers out of Tampa and Orlando. We've got several retirement communities in Fort Myers that are really interested. So the faster they come on will be faster those employees will come on. The 4 that I can guarantee within the first year would be part of the training process would be as we install these systems, those team members, even though they might just be in the call center on the service side, they're going to be able to see the construction side and the installation side. So as they get those trouble calls or anything into their system, they have a better understanding of how the entire system operates and works.
And what we're proposing is to work out some arrangement where they can lease at some rate some of the surplus space in the incubator initially, and also as they grow, be allowed to utilize some of the space in Tech River for the call center. It may be that we can locate even the call center in the incubator, but I know today we could split them and put some in Tech River and some in some of the other space needs in the incubator. So, you know, we're here today to get the board's feeling on whether or not you are comfortable with allowing a company such as Delcom to consider locating in Hardy County as a central spot to service from Fort Myers to Orlando.
So would be the logic would be to run fiber optics, not here.
No, we would be targeting a larger communities, and it's the boutique service. It's an expensive infrastructure to put in, and that's where we're going to be targeting a 10-year service agreement. We take on the capital investment of putting in the fiber to the home, but part of our payback is through that 10-year bulk service agreement, we get those funds returned, and that's the return on our investment. Now, if there was some partnership of if there was some fiber potentially needed to be installed here or something from a business standpoint, we could definitely possibly work with that. But our main goal is to hire people here to help support those services that we're pushing out to other areas.
That was leading to the point of how would that interact with Rapid Systems?
So
There's no correlation between the two. You know, Rapid Systems could be high density, but its intention in Hardy County was for low density areas. It would be incredibly expensive to bury fiber to one home per 10 miles. And he is looking at boutique high-end communities where there's high density and high income brackets to pay for these bundled services that we really wouldn't, they just wouldn't be economically feasible.
It would just be a sub-office here that would be handling the calls and the whatever of,
Yes.
of the surrounding
Yes.
higher density areas.
Correct.
Why wouldn't you want to get a building somewhere else in the city or the county rather than the incubator? What's the incubator going to give you that you can't get somewhere else?
It gives us a more favorable lease agreement for our business. And like I said, it's a very the upfront costs are very high to install this type of infrastructure into communities. And what we're trying to do is not getting revenues for 6 to 12 months while we're doing the installation. We're trying to manage our cost within that. The other benefit is within this location is if we were to locate in Tampa, it's extremely expensive for a property or location lease in Tampa. Orlando is the same way.
No, I'm talking about in Hardy County.
Oh, in Hardy County?
Not someplace else.
It's when Mr. Lambert and I met, we talked through and we looked at several options, and the incubator was just one that it seemed to be a good fit. We're looking roughly 5,000 to 8,000 square feet of warehouse space. One of the things we wanted was a secure fence. We will have some service trucks that will be parked in there. That location offers that. We will need about 1,500 square feet for office space. There's that possibility of adding that to that location or even in Tech River. And splitting those two up wouldn't matter to us. It just seemed to be, of the buildings available and what's here in Hardy County, that just seemed to be one of the better fits at the time.
Also, the incubator requires very little capital investment if we don't utilize any office space there.
Yeah.
And they could have a relatively short-term lease as long as we could find them another place to move to.
That's my concern. You know, how long do you intend on staying there if you make it? And I'm assuming you'll make it. I mean, it sounds interesting to me.
The plan is
the intent that I understood about the incubator was for Hardy County citizens.
yes.
You know, not somebody coming from somewhere, use us for 2 years and take off.
No,
So how do we know that you're going to stay here?
our intent would be to utilize an incubator as it's set up, as to kind of get off the ground and get moving, and then establish a longer term building within Hardy County. The benefits to staying within the county is once you have those team members hired and trained, it wouldn't make sense for us to hire and train and get established here and then move to Orlando and lose those team members, because there's a lot of expense and cost put into that training. So we don't want to lose that.
I understand that. I just don't want to be used.
No, I completely understand. And I live here and my wife's from here, so this is kind of I don't really have an intent of, I don't want to live in Orlando either, so.
So you live here?
Yes, sir, I do.
Do I understand you correctly? This is a startup. You don't have any installation, any facility where you're installed now at the present
No,
time?
we do not have current installation. We are fully funded. We're just going through and finalizing some presentations for some sales for other properties right now. So, but we do not have current fiber in the ground generating.
Anywhere in the state?
No, correct.
Any other questions or comments from board members?
Where does your funding come from now?
We have part of how I got involved and several other individuals got involved. We actually bought into the company, so some of it is personal funds that we've all invested, and then also Aeon Financial Group is providing a lot of our funding. So.
Basically, what I would like is permission from the board to negotiate the terms of, excuse me, a lease, considering both Tech River and the incubator, and also considering the length of time we're going to tie the property up. And we'll come back to you with a draft for your approval in September.
Are you saying it would not adversely impact you if the office was in Tech River and the warehousing was done at the incubator?
No, it would not, because the office would be primarily a call center support service. The warehouse would be the more the technical or service call side, or the truck rolls where you're actually maintaining storage of inventory of component parts. And as we do construction projects, the fiber comes in on big rolls similar to electrical wiring that we'd have to have a place to store that temporarily. So it'd be more of warehousing, strictly warehousing, but we would have employees in each location, but they would serve a very different function within the company.
Are you in business now with customers and everything?
No, we don't have current customers. This is still a startup, but we do have our financial backing. We do have some properties we are surveying and quoting as we speak right now.
Well, how long is it going to take you to get this fiber in the ground to start getting customers? That should take a while, wouldn't it?
That's where the challenge is. It takes 6 to 12 months. It's very dependent upon the property. Some properties, if it's a high-rise condo that's newer and it has all the conduit inside, you can run that property very quickly. But there's a property we surveyed down in Fort Myers last week where it's on the water and it's got the fingers of the new homes out into the water. That's much more difficult because you have to do the trenching, and we do all hand digging so we don't disrupt grass and gardens and all that. So that's a long process, and we're anticipating 6 to 12 months to be installed. But during that 6 to 12 months, we need warehouse space and office space to start training and servicing.
Bill, do you see any impact to the potential clients of the incubator if they take up that much space, or we have plenty of space?
Now, we have looked at a lot of different properties, but there just hasn't been anything that really fit what he needed. And because there's a minimal amount of capital expense necessary, I just felt like it would be a good place to assist Jeff and his company. I don't think Delcom, we'd have as good a chance to have them consider us if it were not for Jeff's presence here. comes from some folks that have been here for many, many generations, and I've been most impressed with all of the people I've met with. I think they have a really good aptitude to do what they do, and I think their business plan is sound relative to locating in Hardy County. So if we can assist them by giving them some surplus space in the incubator and have some kind of exit plan so that as it grows and expands, we can shift them out, move them somewhere else, I feel like it's okay for us to do. If he needed a 5-year lease for 8,000 or 9,000 square feet in that building that was solid, that couldn't be adjusted, I wouldn't recommend it. But I think, and with some modifications, I wouldn't. But I think in this instance, we can give them a startup home and give them some reasonable lease amounts to get them started. And if they grow and expand, we will have done economic development in an incubator here in Hardy County.
And that's also one of the benefits we see within Hardy County is Mr. Lamb and I toured the business park, and just the amount of property you have and availability that as this grows and takes off, it would be, our goal would be to establish a long-term facility in a building, and the business park would be an ideal location for that too. So,
I mean, to me, this sounds like exactly what our intent with the incubator would be, and also, the additional space we have in the Tech River building. So, I'm excited about the potential and the opportunity, and we also discussed that this space would be something we could utilize for startups and to try to incentivize them to get their business going in Hardy County and to create future jobs. So, I'm excited about the opportunities that you bring to the table, and looking at leasing some space. I would be definitely interested in hearing what you could negotiate with Bill and come back to the table in order to help you kind of start a satellite operation here in Hardy County. I don't know if we need any formal action today. We don't really have a lease, just whether it's the pleasure of the board to allow Bill to negotiate and work out some terms with Jeff at this time. Does anyone have any opposition to that? Any concerns about that? Okay. Jeff, we look forward to working with you.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff. The one last comment on the incubator is they continued to work on the re-flooring of the floor, and I want to go down there after the meeting today. I hope they have almost resolved all the issues with it. They had to literally strip the old stuff up, and it was tough to come up. But they've put the new flooring in, and I'm not sure if they have the last coat or not. But once that happens, the equipment is ready to go in. So it will continue to, it's just been a 3-week delay that we really hadn't anticipated. As far as Commerce Park expansion, we have asked for $750,000 in the budget, which will allow us to do the bulk of planning. Probably more than, but certainly planning won't cost that much, but it gives us a decent amount of seed money to work on the expansion of the park in the upcoming year. And we do have a pending lawsuit over the rezone, and that, of course, you'll be apprised of as I hear any additional information on what's going on with it. Floorcan, Christy, we just got a picture of the architect's rendering of what the building is going to look like. The site plan approval did occur at the zoning board meeting the other night. After site plan approval, the final building plans will be approved, and then we'll begin going out to bid. So I do expect everything for Floorcan to remain on track, and we should be able to get them up and running approximately 1 year from now. And that, did you find that? Whenever she finds it, she can flash it up and you can get a look at, I'll describe it when it comes up. Still have Continuum Labs public discussions on hold until the investigations are completed. I have continued to work very intensely with Fort Greene LNG. They have a lot of options on the table. I still think that we all need to be aware of that project. It hopefully will get to the point where we can really begin to talk about it publicly. There's also 2 other confidential projects that remain active. Remain excited about both of them, and I hope sometime before the end of the year to have at least one of them before this board for public consideration. Most of any investment the IDA would have in those projects would probably be in infrastructure, roads, water, sewer, along that line. I don't really expect any direct incentives. So as we can talk about them publicly, I'll certainly bring them to your attention, and that's all that I have at this time.
Any questions from the board on any of our project updates? If not, we will move on into our financial report.
All right, page 16 is where we will begin. It's the profit and loss as of July for the EDC. Under our income, we did draw the final draw from the EDA, and so that shows right there in the $60,000. And we took in our rent, normal rent. And then the $13,000 at the bottom of the income where it says transfer in, that's money that actually came back in for Kristen's salary, the remaining portions of paying out her salary that we take in from the IDA monies. So that's what that is. And under the expenses, payroll is larger because there were 3 pay periods for that time period. So that's why that is increased. And then the other things, just that were out of the ordinary, repairs and maintenance, we did have to get a couple of new telephones within the office that were messed up, so that's what that's under, the repairs, the $444. So the total expenses were $42,021.83 for the month. And then if you flip to page 17, that actually shows the profit and loss from the beginning of the fiscal year through the end of July. And we'll just go over that. This is something new that we started doing. We haven't done this in the past. And I think Charlie suggested that we do this.
So you can see it on a current year-to-date fiscal year that would tie back to retained unrestricted on the balance sheet.
So just to give you an overview, the total income so far for this fiscal year has been $307,100, and then our total expenses have been the $277,358.50. So from now on, we'll just start including that one in your packets, just so you can have an idea of the year as a whole. Flipping to page 18, that starts the general ledger. So we can go over any individual expenses that you may have a question on at this time.
Page 29, just curiosity.
I'm not there yet. That's IDA. I'm just still on EDC. So a few more minutes.
I saw general ledger on both of them.
Yes, sir. Page 18 is where we're at right now. If there aren't any questions on that one, we can go ahead and make a motion to approve the EDC financials, and then we'll move on to the IDA.
Any questions or comments? If not, we'll open for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Devin Lloyd. Any other comments from the board members? Any questions or comments from the public on the EDC financials? If not, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay.
All right, moving on to page 22, that starts the IDA financials, that's the balance sheet. As of July 31st, just want to point out, if you scroll down the page to due from other governments, you'll see due from the EDA. We are still waiting on 2 reimbursements from the clerk for the incubator project, and that is the $648,000 that's showing there. So I just wanted to point that out to you. Any updates on that, Christy, at all? Okay.
I'm actually meeting with Trey this afternoon to get a few more additional items, but other than that, we're still waiting.
All right, if you flip to page 23, that starts the profit and loss by class, and we can go over each individual project. We took in some rental income under the Grove. There wasn't really anything out of the ordinary on expenses for that. Under the incubator, we did take in the $440,000 from the EDA.
You didn't really. That was just an accrual entry.
Oh, okay.
That's still outstanding.
So we're just booking it as income, but it really hasn't come in yet.
That's right.
Under expenses, the $2,444.97, just to mention that under utilities, that encompasses Coker Fuel in the city of Wauchula. So, and if you'll flip to page 24, if you have any specific questions on those projects, I'll be glad to answer them, but there wasn't anything out of the norm on those particular breakouts. Going to page 25, the one area that I'd like to go over is under the administrative, the special revenue category, the $22,492.85. That was money that was paid back to the administrative category from the EDC for monies that we use from time to time transferring in to cover expenses, but we always pay back whatever revenue category we take it out of. So we paid back $22,000 of that. And then under expenses, accounting and auditing.
That money came from whom? EDC?
Yes, it did. Mm-hmm. The EDC paid back $22,000 that it borrowed from that fund. And then the $8,490, that is auditing expenses from Clifton Larson Allen. So. And then on page 26, spec building number 4, which is Tech River. Just to go over those expenses for you. They all mainly fell under the utilities category, which did encompass the city of Wauchula, Florida Fuel, the Preco bills, the CenturyLink, which is a security line hookup out there for the security system, Hardy County Disposal, and the elevator maintenance.
Florida Fuel.
So they provide fuel for the generator.
The on-site generator?
Yes.
That shouldn't be much.
It's not. I mean, the total of all of those, 6 categories was $3,000. But we did just break it out for you so you knew exactly where the $3,000 was spent. And then I don't have any other items to go over. under that, if you have any specific questions, now going to page 29,
Yeah.
onto the general ledger, we can go over those.
Okay, yeah, you mentioned it a while ago, the Coker fuel thing. That seems like that's that same amount of money every month. What is that for?
That Coker Fuel, that was the first time for the incubator. That was when they set up their whole setup, filling in whatever they do with the setup. That's what that was. That's not a recurring charge for the incubator.
What is the setup?
We are setting up Coker Fuel out at the incubator. So they came to do their general setup for services. And so that's a service fee that we paid at the
And
incubator.
This is the
So,
first time it's been on our budgets?
Yes. Under the incubator, yes.
Well, what would it, else would it be under, other than the incubator?
Nothing. That's what I'm
It
saying.
seems
It's
like
the
I've
first
seen
time.
this
so.
before, and I haven't seen it before.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't.
No, I'll go back and look. Okay. And I just didn't,
This is the gas infrastructure for the water heaters and what have you.
Yeah.
Fill
yeah, I'm
Fill
fine
line.
with that, but I just think I've seen this before, but maybe I haven't. Okay. And the elevator thing, that's a recurring monthly thing.
Service.
What's that for? Nobody uses the thing.
Just to maintain it. It's the service agreement that we maintain it, and it's a quarterly payment.
And, I mean, it has to be in working order in the
Okay, and
building.
we just, nobody uses it, but we have to still, why do we pay that? Why do we maintain it?
It's a requirement,
It's a requirement.
yes.
Oh, okay. As long as if it's a requirement, okay. Fine.
Donald, I can tell you on that we have an elevator downtown too, and they've now started bringing state inspectors with them, the thieves and corrupt people.
Yeah.
So that is a requirement. We've got of course ours is used for the apartments
Yours is
upstairs.
used.
Yeah.
But this one's not used by
But it
anybody.
is a requirement. Even if no one was up there for 6 months, we still got to pay it.
Okay. All right. I'm good.
Any other questions? If not, we can approve the IDA financials.
Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering where the reconciliation detail was. It wasn't on this one.
That is my fault. I just forgot to include it.
I look forward to that. That's where I really go to.
We can send it to you. We'll send it back out to the board.
Any other questions or comments from the board members? If not, we will open for a motion to approve the IDA financials. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments from board members? If not, any questions, comments from the public? If not, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, we'll move into announcements, other business, and public comment. I did want to mention that we did have an open house. I wanted to thank all of the board members and also the community that showed up to support one of our local companies last week. I think it was a very good turnout. It was very interesting to see their new robotic and also some of their other machines that they've brought in since our last visit. It was, generally a good turnout at the event, and I know that we all appreciate Sean opening it up and letting us all come in and take a peek inside. So, any other announcements or other business from board members?
Yeah, I'd like to know if there's any information on how the examination is going.
The Clifton Marcinelle examination.
Mm-hmm.
Very well, according to Tricia, but she does not expect to have it completed until the September meeting.
Yeah, I figured that, but, you know, you asked her to update you on the emails and stuff, and so I figured there was some information you could give to the board.
All of the information that she has requested has been produced, and they continue to evaluate it.
Okay, no emails that you got from her is causing any kind of problems or anything? I mean, she's not running into any problems, because you told her to copy you on any emails she sent them, so I thought maybe.
They've been positive. I spoke with her on the phone Thursday or Friday, and she was very upbeat about the way the examination was proceeding.
Good.
Any other questions or comments from board members? If not, we'll open up for public comment. Any public comment? Seeing none, we will open for a motion to adjourn the meeting. And do we have a second? I'm sorry. Jim? All those in favor? Motion carries.